Hello YouTube, Camodo Gaming here, bringing you guys another episode of Scrap Mechanic, and today we are back in the town. And folks, we finally have one. We finally have a train system in the town. I know you guys have been requesting this for a long time, and it just took me a long time to figure out exactly how I wanted to do it, and I had a little bit of help. Now, if you recall, about 3 weeks ago, we did a viewer creation episode on a tram system, and I thought the system was actually really good. It was not laggy at all, so I figured, we might be able to give this a chance in the town. Now, the system was developed by Sam H. Dev. I'm going to link his workshop in the description. If you want to build one of these systems in your town, you can. But yeah, the system itself is great, and I'll show you guys how it works. I got minimal impact. I do think that the new engine actually helped this quite a bit, because I have a huge loop here. This loop takes 8 minutes to get around to come back around to the station. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the plans and how we're going to do this train system and how we're going to add to it in the future here. But anyways guys, if you're enjoying Scrap Mechanic, hit that thumbs up button. It helps out my channel a whole lot. But anyways, let's jump right into this. Alright, so here's the train station and the train over here. I'm going to put the train on the tracks here in a second. I need a name for this train system. I kind of like how Dallas, or here in Texas, we have the DART system. And I would love to see something like that here in Camodoville. I don't want to call it like Camodo train or anything. I'd like an acronym or something like that, something short. So if you guys want to comment below, I'd like to choose one of those before we start placing more stations, and I can make like a sign for it. Now, the station itself, I can place more of these on any part of the track. So this is going to really open it up. So on the say on the other side of the loop, if we want to build something, we would be able to put a station down and travel in between the parts of town. So you've got the station here. It looks kind of like I would say a modern station. And here's the train. Now the train, like I said, developed by Sam H. Dev. He did a wonderful job with this train. And I'm going to show you how the system works. So we're going to grab it. Let's put it on the street here. You can see the two little railings here and the two pipe pieces. I have, there's a track and there's a rail in the middle that this runs in between. And that's how it guides itself. And it drives off the wheels under there. So this doesn't lag that bad. I'll probably get about a maybe 10 to 15 frame rate drop when I stick it on the track and start going, but it's still really high. Now, what I did do, I did modify his train, and I asked him in an email, I was like, I'm going to put some lights on it. I'm going to change the color and try to make it represent more the channel colors and the colors of the town. So you've got that, you've got the new dynamic lights on the back, the two red, I don't know if they're really brake lights. I've seen these on the backs of trains, but I can't picture them actually hitting the brakes and these light up. So you've got all of these. You can see on the inside there's lights. When we put this off the lift, it'll actually open up. Now, before we stick it on the track, let's go ahead and check out the station. This station's pretty simple. You can see the parking over to the right. We are right across from Camodo Hood. It kind of makes sense, say if you're going into town or going into the big city working, you can come back on the train and get dropped off at your houses. So that's why I stuck it over here. Now you've got a little ticketing system. Some people already have passes so they can go right into the station, but say you want to just buy a one-day pass, you can come up here, get your ticket, and you're going to walk up here. There's two ways to get up here. Well, there's actually one way down and one way up. You need to go on this right side and say you would scan your ticket here. There we go. And we are on the platform. Now, the platform itself actually looks really fantastic. I made sure to use tons of this new glass because I'm absolutely in love with it. It looks fantastic. It does look a little green, and that is painted. It's just when you stick the glass up against, or at least on the roofs, it's like the sunlight catches it, and it gives it a little bit of a green tint. So no, folks, I didn't actually paint it that color, and I kind of wish that didn't do that, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the sun and it's because of the rays coming through. I also did add some of the dynamic lights up here. You've got the poles, some sitting areas over here. The controllers, this is like a little maintenance panel for anybody who needs to work the gates here. So you've got that, and over here this is like a video board showing you what the times are when the train's coming, and maybe where the loops are. Now, like I said, I only have one loop, but I'm going to show you guys. There's actually going to be an option. Mr. Sam H. Dev actually has a train, or a track switcher. I've got one set up down there, and you can go up there and hit a switch, and you can basically maneuver the train somewhere else. So I've got another loop kind of started. I wouldn't say it isn't done at all, but I have the option to go over to the other side of the map opposed to where the loop is now. So let's go ahead and we're going to set this train on the tracks, and we're going to take a little bit of a ride here, and I'll kind of show you guys how everything works. Nothing much has changed from the train as far as when I did it on the viewer creation episode, but it's still really a cool system, the whole fact that you don't have to actually drive the train, you can let it go by itself. Okay, so this is the trickiest part to getting this train going, is actually sticking it on the tracks, because it doesn't seem like the lift set's dead center, so you need to set it off on the middle rail by about 1 block, so probably about right there. Let's check. You'll be able to tell as long as these are lined up, so when we drop it off the lift, it's actually going to drop down in these little slots. So we've got that going there. Now the train itself, something I never pointed out in the viewer creation episode is this train actually has a safety mechanism on it. It's got this little front sensor, so if something were to ever block the track, say there's even like a car on the track, this train will stop moving. So that's really cool. Now me and Mr. Non-Newtonian have already talked about train crossings for streets, and we've already come up, well, he came up with the design, and I've got to find a way to get the streets or to connect them in and make them run over. But we'll have sensors set up. If we ever want to cross the street, we'll have a sensor set up and it'll actually activate train crossings. So yeah, that's really awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and drop this off the lift. It's a little bright in here with all the dynamic lights. I've got all the floodlights, like I said, and then the train's front lights are extremely bright. But I figured, you know what, if we ever get a night cycle, which I really hope we do, this would be awesome at night, riding the train. So we're going to step into here. I did change the colors on the inside just a bit. You still got all this seating up and down here. 3 train carts. Now you're probably asking yourself why are these suspension pieces all up and down here? It does seem to, when this train takes turns, it compresses, and I think it's actually giving it a little bit smoother ride. So anyways, let's go ahead and activate this thing. Now you go up here. Like I said, you do not have to drive this train. You can pretty much just hit a couple switches and it's going to drive the loop. So let's go ahead and activate, let's go ahead and activate our downward thrusters. These are I'm assuming, to help pin the train down to the track. And then we're going to hit this center button here. And here we go. Doors are closed. And we are on our way. I'm going to try to give you guys a good view here using these new windows. A little green on one side, I guess the sun side, so we can kind of look at this one here. Actually, they're all kind of green, and I don't really know why. But yeah. You can see we're driving along here. There's the tunnel to Camodoville. You can see the drag strip in the background. We're actually going to take a right here. Now, the train, it takes turns a little slow, and that's just by design. It cannot speed around him. He says he's redesigning some of the turns, so maybe we can get a little smoother, a little faster turning. But to me, it's not bad at all. We do have a little bit of a chicane up here, and it's going to kind of stop. I had to go around a tree. You can see it coming up on the left here. Actually, it's a bush. I would say it's a train, but it's actually just a bush. But yeah, let's go ahead. We can walk up and down this cart. We can sit down. Let's say we want to pick a seat here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, and you can see the train cruising along the tracks here. You can actually see the system in motion. Now, some people might not even say, well, this is not a train. This is simply a vehicle that is driving on tracks. But to accomplish that train track, like a real one in Scrap Mechanic, it's going to take a lot of collisions, and even with the new game engine, it's still not quite up to it. Let's see, we're going to take a left here. Now, one cool thing, and it's extremely awesome that the train can do this, you can see the split in the track that we just passed over. Normally, I do that with my roads because if you have one big object, it tends to bounce. So I can still do that with the tracks itself, and it will continue to go. It will not derail the train. I was a little worried that that was going to happen at first, but I'm happy to say that that's not a thing. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue. Now, what I might do a little bit of a time lapse here and just speed through the loop, because I'm not going to be able to talk for like 8 minutes about what's going on here because there's not much scenery out here right now. So let's go ahead and speed this up, and I'm going to show you guys just the kind of the direction this train's going, and then we'll stop over by where the track switcher is. Okay, here we are. We are at the track switcher, and I do understand this track switcher is actually backwards. We were just testing kind of like a proof of concept to figure out how we needed to do this. And so you saw the loop in the time lapse. That takes us around, I want to call that, say if we're looking this way, that's going to be the right side of the map. Now we do have a whole left side of the map that I'd like to have another train loop on. So we would have one of these switchers in, and we might modify this a bit. I might talk to SamHDev and see what we can do. You've got this switch here, so say we want to direct the train in another direction. Now this would work, of course, if the train was coming this way and it would take a left instead of taking this right, so I'm gonna have to reverse this around. But it does travel over this just fine. It has no issues whatsoever. So when this is gonna travel through, you can see it switch this way and it'll go right to the station. And if we were switched the other way, it wouldn't do anything, of course. It'd actually probably derail. But if this was reversed around, we'd be able to go in the other direction. Now, I'm pretty sure there's ways to rig this up with sensors. I don't think there's a way to actually connect everything to where we can do it from the train and switch it, because the way the track is broke up, because I just had to do that just to ensure that this thing was going to run pretty good. So we'll see what we're going to do there, but I wanted to show you guys the switcher. Like I said, he is fantastic. He's got quite a few other little parts of the track that I think we're going to be able to utilize in the town. But this was the one part where I was like, alright, you know what, we can actually have multiple loops, and this is going to make this absolutely fantastic. So anyways, let's go ahead and travel back into the station. It's just right down the track from here. Alright, here we are back at the train station. We're ready to unload. The only thing I might do here with the train station, I might come up with a stopping system. Of course, the train, you'd have to manually stop it, but I think if we can put a sensor down on the tracks here, and then have a mechanism that pops up down on the rails here and actually stops the train physically, it's still going to be running, but I can do that and then maybe put a timer on it of maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds or 40 seconds, maybe even a minute, depending on how long this thing needs to stay here and unload and load up more passengers, and then we'll drop the gate and let the train go. But anyways guys, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode of Scrap Mechanic. We still have a little bit more work to do on this train to try to make the tracks as far as around them look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, because everything's kind of hovering off the ground right now. But we do have the loop in place. We will continue working on this and other town projects, and I will be returning to my other normal series this week. I know I've been getting some questions about my summer car. Not necessarily Brick Rigs, because I've still been doing that one, but we will be returning to that. I'm going to try to do some city skylines also. We'll see if I can get around to doing that or getting my save to work correctly. Been having some issues with that. But anyways, if you'd like to like and subscribe, everything helps my channel, and we will see you guys next time on Scrap Mechanic. Thank you!